All right, we're talking about Real Housewives reality TV, this TV show that, yeah, it's mindless, it's fun, but we love it. I mean, who doesn't love a little guilty pleasure to ease our mind every now and again? It's calming. Reality TV can be calming, yes indeed. All right, so here's what we're going to break down. What's up? I'm Randomly Ronnie Jr. If you want to support me, of course, do that. Patreon.com/Randomly Ronnie Jr. Over 1,500 episodes. And I've also worked in radio, and I've been talking for so long, and I would love a little more support. Yeah, show me love. Okay, but we're going to show love to this show. So how do we get into Real Housewives loving the show to begin with? It was a mindless reality show. The franchise is now at 20 years because of Orange County. 20 years, it's just insane. The Ultimate Girls Trip, which will be the best of all the different seasons or shows rather in the franchise, they're going to have something in August. But now there's all this excitement about New York. And now why is that? Because Real Housewives of New York, at one point, I believe after season 13, it kind of decided to switch things up and go for a reboot. I liked the reboot. Uba, Aaron, Bryn. To me, it was an okay show. Raquel, and it just had 2 seasons and it was a flop. So with that became all this moment and this excitement of like, oh, well, they're going to eventually have something with the older cast and then the newer cast. So kind of like giving a best of both worlds, but it never ended up happening for whatever reason. And so now you have all these, say what they are, reality TV greats like Luann and Sonja and Ramona and Kelly Ben Simone, joined by Margaret and Candace Bushnell. Is that how you say her name? She was the author of Sex and the City. You have all these cast members with nowhere to go. And then they end up going to the E! Channel. Now, the E! Channel is going to be something brand new because at this point, it is no longer with NBC Universal. So at this point, they're basically doing their own thing. Now, it was kind of said that all of a sudden they're going to go ahead and give them more episodes and it's going to become a bigger thing than it was originally expected. Half of me thinks that's true because it was a good group. They definitely know how to do a show. They definitely know how to be interesting. But the other half of me thinks it might just be that the E! Channel doesn't have anything else. It would be one thing if like this was a Bravo show. Bravo has all the success in this format. And if they had the success, they may not be counting on, wow, this did really good, let's make this a bigger show. But since E! doesn't have anything and it's starting from scratch, they don't have the soup like they used to have. They don't have E! News. They don't even have like the big Ryan Seacrest, Juliana Rancic, all the really wonderful hosts from back in the day anymore. It's kind of a brand new, fresh start. And it's going to be a fresh start with this new cast. Well, new cast coming from Bravo to the E! Channel. But I do wonder, is it actually that, because that is what is being stated by the E! Channel, which is like, oh, this show called The Golden Life with all the old Real Housewives of New York cast members, that it's so good they had to pick up cameras and film even more. They had to add new cast members, which I think, again, is partially true, but we do have to think, if they don't have a lot at the moment, E! might say, well, we got something here, let's maximize this. And, the E! Channel will be interesting. I'm not knocking it at all. Remember, the E! Channel, before Kardashians, had Sunset Tan, they had Ice-T and Coco, they had a handful of wonderful shows. I don't know why those are the only 2 that are coming to me right now, that were the peak of reality TV. So you just don't know the direction. But when you have a sure success in these old Real Housewives of New York cast members called E's The Golden Life, basically showing an older side of what they've already done on another network, of course you're going to give them more shows and more episodes and really count and bank on their success. I could totally see that. Now let's switch it up and talk about Real Housewives of New York, the reboot for the 3rd time, which I've been such a fan of regardless of all these different reboots. I know not everyone has been, but I have enjoyed what Aaron, Uba, Sai, Bryn, and all of them have done season after season. But now you got Ryder Girl with some of her last 5 summers and her beautiful, what'd she say? Her beautiful behind, Carole Radziwill, coming to the show. And she's kind of coming to the show with a little bit of controversy too. I don't know what we think about that. I just feel like the show messed up. To the people who thought the show wasn't good when it did the 2-season reboot, and now another reboot version. I think sometimes the network overthinks things, and I'm a classic overthinker, so I get it. Virgo here. But I think they overthought things, and they should have just stuck with what they had. And it seems like they've been playing catch up, like, well, maybe we'll do an Ultimate Girls Trip in the space of, doing the older cast members and a newer, fresher reboot, and then rebooting it again just to save face, because, it kind of did leave the network looking like you had Luann, you had Sonja, you had Dorinda, you had Ramona, you had like the classics, Kelly Ben Simone, maybe Bethenny would have came back at some point, and really just trying to double down on the idea that the new New York was great. I personally liked it, but when you lose having that wonderful cast to like try to like appease a younger, cooler audience and an older, stuffier audience, I think they should have just kept with what they had. That decision making to cut season 13 and not doing a reunion was like the line in the sand, and I'm quite literally standing on sand right now. It was the line in the sand, and they've always been playing catch up from that point, but maybe they got it something special this time. Real Housewives of New York, I'm gonna finish with the older cast. I guess I gotta call them the older cast. I don't want to do that because I love older. In fact, that's one of my judgments on Real Housewives cast members, is I wish they were long in the tooth. I like them when they're old. I think they've got better stories, and it's not like the young cast members aren't compelling. Of course, I love Melissa Gorga. When she did Jersey, she was like only 32, so I like a young cast member in that regard, but typically give me 55, give me 60, give me stories to tell, and usually the older cast members definitely have that. Anyways, I'm going to call Real Housewives of New York the older cast members that are now on the E! Channel, the Golden Life, and I'll call the Real Housewives of New York cast members on Bravo's basically fourth reboot. There was the season that they cleared house and Aviva and Carole and everyone came in. This newest reboot seems to have the most excitement behind it. It's a nice little mix of fun. It's a nice little mix of, there's not enough talk about this in my opinion, especially New York. A nice little mix of like fashionable women, go-getters. They brought in a younger cast member for Beverly Hills, and while I liked Amanda, she did work well. I think the better way a cast member works is either she's got a good sense of wealth within her career that she built on her own, or she married into it or something like that. But the influencer type, not really as much. And although one of the cast members was a makeup artist for Martha Stewart, so that's very influencer adjacent, but it just doesn't feel like it. And I think this was the cast that really made the most sense. Brynn, I didn't have a problem with Brynn, so to speak. I mean, she really did go off the rails on a couple things, but she felt like an influencer. And it's hard for me to knock influencers, because my original career choice 20 years ago, well, since I was growing up really, was I wanted to host a talk show, I wanted to be in radio, and even that, like, in one level you could be like, what, isn't that just an influencer? No, it was actually putting a show together. It's what I did. I've done live television, all that stuff. I always tell you that. That's why you should support my Patreon, patreon.com/randomlyronnie Jr. But what I'm saying is anyone could be an influencer. You could influence on anything. You can essentially influence on anything. But I think when you feel like an influencer, it doesn't really work. You got to make sure the message is coming through. Even when I do these silly pop culture episodes, I always try to find the heart in it. I've worked as a segment producer for about 12 years on another show, and I would take some of the rougher stories you'd ever find and find the heart behind those stories. An hour interview, and I would condense it to 3.5 minutes with video and photo sound ups and stuff of that nature. Or I would take something that was light and I'd give it some meat. I'd give it some meat and potatoes. I'd give it some extra grit to it. So storytelling isn't really about if you're an influencer or not, but it's if you come off as just somebody who is making a lot of money selling some product. I think this particular group doesn't feel influencer-y. I, of course, said that I don't mind Amanda on Beverly Hills. Looks like she's not going to return. But she, as great as she was, she felt very like, let me look at the camera, let me tell you some BS, let me feed you some BS that you're going to love and pay me millions of dollars, and there it is. And that feels very hollow for a cast member. Maybe not hollow for who she is impacting. I'm not saying Amanda's bad in any way. She might be impacting some really cool people, and that I have no problem with. But yeah, ultimately, anyone getting their money is always a good thing. And I just, wonder if this is the right cast. And it feels like it doesn't have that overly glossy influencer cast member type, even though essentially Sai was. But Sai comes in on the show, in at least the trailer that we're seeing, with so much opinions. And that's what you need on the show. Like, Sai quite literally, probably at the beginning, really felt like she knew how to make her money online and through influencing. And that was like the career that she had built when she was with her husband. And all of a sudden she did master the concept of doing reality TV and sharing. And I think it was probably very difficult because it's a different way to express. When she did what she did prior, and I'm sure she still does it and has great brand deals and stuff, it's such a curated experience, almost possibly too much, which is great. You have your guard up, et cetera, but then you go to reality TV and you almost have no your words could get twisted up, people could be fed different bits of information, and it could impact people in terms of like they sort of lose the sense of what your trust is in with them, and vice versa. And so I feel like she might have really, that first season, struggled with that. It's like you on one hand have so much control, maybe you could ease up a little bit, which we all can. I know I'm very like that too. I'm a Virgo, as I said. And then on the other hand, she was doing the reality show where she had like no control, and like straight up lies could be said about her. And I think as second season is, and it's looking like third season too, she's just got it. Like, she just has it. Aaron, to me, is always interesting. I always tell you that Aaron's very first Watch What Happens Live, that wonderful virtual caller, was me. So I was like Aaron, and you know why I like Aaron too? I'll say Jen Perdonti, or whatever her name is, and Ryan, which I know there are feelings about Jen, but I will tell you that I love a Real Housewives cast member where her and her husband have good, flirty, romantic energy. And you know my number one, Melissa and Joey. Melissa and Joey give me the energy of Aaron and Abe, Jennifer and Ryan from OC. So Aaron, to me, she certainly doesn't not have her faults. She does. But she's not only the most gorgeous thing ever. I love her relationship with Abe. She's meant to do this show. I know she started out more so doing like real estate or whatnot. But what she does that I think is comfortable for the show is in many ways too many cast members, and I don't blame them per se. They play to the audience so much. Erin really takes a lot on the chin because she just really will say what she actually feels, regardless of how that lands or how it's supposed to land. Not really taking it in the vein of like what the term of politically correct would be, but when that term used to be used, it's like what is the most thought out answer. She does not really speak from that. She speaks with a little bit of authenticity and does what she darn well pleases, and I think Erin is great for that. The new cast members, they all look new, they look fresh, they look exciting. I felt like I wanted maybe Raquel to come back. Raquel only had one season and she was very much part-time. I'm wondering if Devin from Real World Brooklyn is going to be on the show. I had thought she was going to do a couple of seasons, part-time work, as a friend of. She was on the season with Ebony a little bit. Remember, she was helping Sonja. She was helping Sonja date. Either way, it's coming up in September. I think the artwork, the theme of like, it was like a deep maroon and red was like such an interesting take, but it's like it really gets you set for the fall season. And a lot has been said about Real Housewives as a franchise or Bravo TV. Does it have what it used to have? It goes up against reality shows now that are Love Island, Love is Blind, Big Brother, Survivor. Bravo TV might be kind of coming back with New York. So that ultimately asks the question, the Golden Life, the gals that are going to be on the E! channel, do you think they're going to do better? And yeah, that's last but not least, what do we think of Real Housewives of New York? Is it going to be in competition? Is it going to be as good as Real Housewives of Rhode Island? What do they need to do to revitalize it? Either way, it's going to be interesting. And if you've always liked reality TV and Bravo and the E! channel, maybe this is a nice little reshifting of really wonderful television programs that we haven't really seen in a long time.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.